the Ezreal able to get away so easily. So that would make a lot of sense. See what their final ban out is going to be. Rare for them to not touch the jungle pool at all. They do usually like to take away one of the strongest junglers and then grab the other for themselves, but instead just going to be the Rumble taken away.
I mean, Neferi's open, Jarvan's open, we've got Lee Sin open, Vi open, so many of these top tier junglers really ready to go. And in the mid lane as well, one of these picks that we so infrequently see get let through, if not immediately snapped up, is the Cassiopeia. Have still got the Syndra as a response if Karis wants to take it, but really here for WE, they get their hands on cream of the crop of the jungle. They are going to have to stare down one of the mammoths of the mid lane.
Indeed they are. Interesting to see the Pantheon insta-locked in right here. Now, I do not like the idea of the Akali out of WE. As much as it's one of Karis' best available pickups, don't love it into the Cassiopeia, don't love it into the Pantheon either, to be honest. It will make EDG have to think about what their bot lane is going to be, and it is, as we were saying, right, something Karis goes back to time and time again, so gonna put himself that one.
So it's a rough laning phase for Karis, but the hope is that eventually to be able to body Bulldog in whatever side lane they end up going to. Mid jungle's already locked in, and for the most part here, WE's identity relatively fleshed out already with the Vi, with the Akali. Jace not necessarily fitting that mold, but is going to try to go forward with the team all the same.
Yeah, I mean, the hammer form, jump in, you can potentially make it work, although it does lean them a little bit more into pick potential. We'll see what the ADC is, right? That's really going to tell us which side of that coin they're going to be finding themselves on. For EDG right now, they've got the beginnings of what could be a pretty decent team fighting composition. They're going to need some proper tankiness to play around. Now, they can just get that from the top lane instantaneously if they want it. ZZ just going to pick up his Cassante, again, something he's been playing a lot of. And so we get into the second round of bans. We are still yet to see any of our ADCs. Pretty rare, actually, in the meta at the moment. ADCs are usually getting picked quite a lot earlier.
They are, but in this situation, I feel like game number one, where the priority picks for bot lane aren't as highly prevalent as the priority picks around the rest of the map. And it feels like a lot of those have been taken here in this opening draft. We are seeing a lot of Cassante being the answer to Jace. So it should be there to minimize that laning phase, but what you tend to see is that the Cassante, whilst it can find access in the early laning phase, it tries to sort of lose gracefully, but the Jace is always going to end up with a massive gold lead and really be able to propel the pace of that top lane. So WE have a very nice top side, and their solo lanes should be set up for success. They've effectively, they've got counter pick in the mid lane, and they've got a decent enough matchup for that top lane. So for both of these sides, it's about making sure that we sort of hamstring as much of the identity of these two teams as possible. I like the Seraphine ban to get rid of some of that Ashe Seraphine potential. And the Nautilus as well are one of those divers to remove that full-on, all-in composition that we see from WE.
Yeah, there's still a couple of the supports that can really fit into that mold available too, though, if they want themselves the Rel. If you want to be really risky and go back towards that Camille that we had been seeing a lot of earlier on, obviously fallen off quite a bit in terms of the priority. For EDG right now, I wouldn't be surprised if they just grab themselves any of the basic supports, I was going to say, but instead, maybe they just feel the pressure out of this WE composition, want to sit really far back with the Jhin. I don't love the Jhin in a lot of these situations. I think this is a decent spot for it right here, and you do have plenty of more sustained damage coming through from the Cassiopeia, so I think it can work.
Yeah, it's providing support for your top side, but I look across at this top side and I don't see an overwhelming amount of damage. Usually my preference would be to take the Jhin when you've got sort of 3 carries in that top side, and granted, when Cassante goes out all out, maybe EDG will have that. WE now with the choice of bot lanes, really. They've got a couple of enchanters that they themselves took away, but Caitlyn Karma still available if they want to take that. It's a good denial pick away from the Jhin and Parukia as well. But their composition here does look like it thrives with some engage. Maybe a little bit of a late pivot here into the draft with the Caitlyn being, or the Karma being picked up, excuse me, to enable a go forward mentality. Sivir still open for these sides if they want it as well. The Sivir Karma bot lane duo, very, very scary. But for WE, we'll see what their last lot gets to be.
They keep coming back around to this Caitlyn, keep coming back around to the Varus. I like the Varus a little bit more in this situation, and that will be the lock-in. As much as the bot lane between Caitlyn and Karma can be pretty terrifying, I think the Varus is going to give you a lot more in this game, and the Bard will be the final pickup right here to round things out. Overall, very interesting, very different kinds of compositions. WE, they've got a bit of a split identity here, as we were talking about, right? With the initial couple of picks, they wanted to go all in, but all of a sudden they've got a lot of poke potential, and really at this point, it's more of a poke composition than it is an all-in comp.
Yes, they have diversified, they have sort of changed the profile here of their composition. With that Varus, with that Jason, I think that that's a good setup for them. The issue that I see with that, obviously the big tank in their way, we will see if ZDZ can be the difference maker, absorb that damage, and then look to do some damage in those team fights afterwards. Alternatively for EDG, another thing to consider here is how much of protection do they actually have for those backline carries when the Vi and the Akali do go in. I think they're reliant very heavily on some good Bard portals, on some really well-timed petrifying gazes as well. As we get ready here for our first matchup, WE find themselves just a little bit ahead in 4th place, looking to secure themselves in the top half of the LPL regular season, chasing down the top 3 of AL, BLG, and top esports. EDG with their very, very scraps of their split 3 hopes left alive here. An opportunity, if they 2-0 all of the rest of their series and other results go their way, that they don't finish at the bottom of the standings. Outside of that, not too much for them to play for here. It's EDG getting set, getting ready now for their first matchup against WE in their home arena in Xi'an.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good, even for EDG there, which, you know, it's been pretty quiet in a lot of different places, but clearly at WE's place, there's still people hoping EDG can turn things around, and WE's chants were incredibly loud. Always got to be fun to be playing at your home stadium, seeing your team playing here at home as well.
Erha, they're missing out on the initial Mantra Q, does open for this really nice trade that EDG can take down on the bot side, and a little bit of lane prio established by the Jhin into the Varus, who uses the first piercing arrow to try and get some poke down instead of pushing that wave. Both junglers start off our game starting on the bot side, looking like they're pathing up towards the top lane. The notorious anti-Cassante idea is you just don't path to tanks, but in this instance both of our junglers are.
I think it could still potentially be a little bit of an explosive lane. Like you said, the J should be coming out of this with a massive advantage, so it is something that you could be wanting to stop have happen as EDG, see if you can get involved there as JJ, and potentially punish the fact that you're likely going to have Cube pushed up quite heavily in a lot of situations. And as we were talking about previously, WE, they have shown us vulnerability to getting dove. That's usually been down in the bottom side, but Cube has not been immune.
Not by any means here. There's an early ward from Bulldog going to spot that the chickens are still ready, and now officially spot that the chickens are being taken. They'll give some good information over to EDG. And Bulldog on this Cassiopeia, we're expecting to have the run of things through the early stages of this game, but post level 6, that lane does get significantly harder. And again, for EDG, looking at the win rates of these champions, not going to go all that well, but in terms of games played, when we've got Leave on Marksman, they tend to feel better than when he's not.
Yeah, exactly. As much as any of these champions you're looking at, the win rates are going to be pretty atrocious. They've won 2 individual games and no series this whole split. There is at least some level of hope, as we are going to get both the junglers on the top side of the map fighting over this Scuttle Crab. JJ going to get here first, but does not have the smite. Needs to try to push Monki off of this one, and does do pretty well in this 1v1.
Vault Breaker lands flush, as on the bot side we've got some skirmishing as well. No combat summoner spells, and we don't even need a 4th shot before about falls. TP on the Varus means you are susceptible to these short trades, and on the top side as well, Bulldog finds Monki.
And that's just horrific right here. Teleport back in from about could potentially try to make something happen, although Leave and Parukia
far
are
away.
already doing a lot of damage.
Oh, Mantra W from Erha baits in lead,
missed
but
the-
it's not able to get the damage down in time. About gonna look his way in here. Parukia flashes to an alternate wall, waiting for the mana. Piercing arrow lands, but
Oh my god.
Parukia juking him out here. He's
doesn't
going to
know.
have a Q surely and a meep about. He just doesn't know where this board is. Waiting for those cooldowns. Q
Okay.
auto, not in time. Double kill for About.
There we go. It took a while. Took a long time. The minion wave losing aggro onto About was everything he needed to be able to survive in this situation. And although JJ was booking his way down towards the bottom side of the map, it's not going to work out. So even though EDG get themselves that initial kill, they don't respect the teleport back in from an About and end up losing out onto a couple of kills. Now, we were watching bot side. Let's have a look back at what it was that we missed on the top side, because last we saw, JJ was winning a little bit in the 1v1. However, there was already all of that push coming on through out of Bulldog, and it meant he was just able to roam way quicker. Flash, nice. Really nice. Just gets the Twin Fang to be able to shut that one down.
Does burn double summoner spells from both of the solo lanes, so come level 6 here, a very real opportunity for a little bit of vengeance from WE. And then down on this bot side, Parukia, very high impact cosmic binding there. If that misses, the Karma gets another heal, another rotation off, and it means that About needs a little bit more to make it work. And then yeah, the
This is so
tension down on the
funny.
bot side Bloxer. Oof.
Alcove Gaming right here. Alcove Gaming coming on through. Obviously, in the end of that, right, is just going to be 2 kills onto About, so he's in a really nice spot right here, and exactly what you need with this poke composition. Monki looking to make something happen on the top side. ZZZ is pretty pushed up.
Well, he has no flash, but he does have level 6 and a bramble vest to deal with both of these physical damage carries. Monki is going to try here. Cube going to help out, but my odds are
missed.
low of this actually working. Aftershock procs, and ZDZ, yep, goes all out. Monki, no flash, going to be in trouble
Yep.
here. Gets taken down by a second Untofu, and Cube forced to flash away as well. I hate to be that guy, Bloxer, but that felt quite clear.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that was going to work either, and Monki clearly does, especially the second that he misses that Vault Breaker. There was no hope of that one working out, but you can't get back away in that situation. ZDZ just going to stick around now.
And now we're going down onto that bot side. Varus with still no flash. Judge, really quick, really clean, really easy, and EDG here, Bloxer, up to a 1.5k gold lead early on.
Indeed they are, and instantaneously we are seeing EDG just playing well at this point. Like you said, decent little gold lead, not being able to pick themselves up any objectives yet. And WE, they really need to be careful, right? If they don't want to end up losing a game right here to EDG, if they want to keep rolling towards that 4th spot in the regular season, not the time to be beginning to slide behind, especially not to this composition right here. Yeah, there's still some pretty fun scaling options available, but as you're getting as quickly on towards first items as EDG are, they're going to be in a great spot.
I think now is the best time as possible for WE to try and take that dragon before those first items are hit ahead of the curve. They're going to try it anyway, and successful they will be. Neve was in base trying to work his way back out onto the map, but the 4v3 not favourable for EDG, and they're not in the habit in this instance of giving WE a way back into this game.
Now, something they've done plenty of, as you're alluding to, but not in this situation. Off the back of that dragon as well, Monki is going to take on over to level 6, so he's now going to be in a good spot to really start to accelerate the pace of the game. Something JJ's already done really well. Love that he instantly used that Grand Starfall, immediately trying to get as aggressive as possible. Like I said, first items, they are going to be accelerated right here, and the second that EDG do complete those, should be on the next base or so, they really do need to just completely explode onto the map, accelerate the pace of the game. Do not allow WE to get back into this one.
And I am waiting here for that first item of Bulldog to be completed with no tier. I think this is pretty bold, actually, in a composition where there is quite a good amount of all-in on that Vi, on that Akali, to not have that Seraph shield, but maybe relying on some of the innate HP that you're going to get from an early Rylai's on the Cassiopeia. We'll see if it favours Bulldog as we move later and later on into this game, but coming into the day here, Bloxer, I was sort of thinking it would be the incredibly WE thing to do, to be the only team to drop a series versus EDG.
The most WE way of doing this, as Monki gonna try steal one of the grubs away, fails to do so, does pop the ulti though.
Cease and desist goes in. JJ not particularly low, still flashes away, and it's when Karis gets hit that ZDZ needs to worry, and that'd be about now. Can't use the Akali to go all out, and quite quickly falls under the weight of some AP.
Yeah, you can see, right? Fully tooled in to be able to resist the Jace and the Vi. These are very vulnerable to the Akali. As we talked about, right, we weren't sure about this Akali pickup for Karis, as this blue buff will be stolen away, because it makes the laning phase pretty tough, but Karis has done a pretty fine job getting through the laning phase, down a decent chunk of CS, around about, 10, 15 CS for the most part throughout this laning phase, but already picking up that kill is pretty nice.
Cube there has the demolish. Instead of actually going up and autoing all 3 times, just doesn't use the rune, which I'm a little bit sad about, if I'm being completely honest with you. But to talk about Cube a little bit here, a player who has began a conversation around his name for this split. Previously, Cube felt like the serviceable mid-level of the LPL top laner, and that might have been being generous to him. But in this split has actually received several quantities of those player of the games, has been instrumental in how WE has carried some matches. So on the Jace here, whilst making some mistakes with rune choices and how to execute on those, a lot of pressure on his shoulders on the Jace in game number 1, and we'll see if he can leverage that power that he gets from having the counter pick in the top lane into finding a decent win for WE here.
Not ideal with that initial gank that him and Monki try going wrong, but has been able to pretty much stabilize through during this laning phase. And as we've said, right, the poke is a big part of what this WE composition is looking to do. Once we get around these objectives upcoming, if he's able to land some big accelerated shock blast and then dive in alongside Monki and Karis, that's the way that WE are going to have to play out these team fights if they have any hope of success. His target acquisition as well. Going to have to be very careful. If he's hitting onto Bulldog or Leave, these fights are going to be going very well for them, but ZZ and JJ are going to be all over this Jace.
Quick thing to take a look at here, Leave has opted for the Serpent's Fang first item, specifically versus this Karma. That is going to do a good amount of work. It does sort of lower his damage early on, but as we move into the team fight, it is going to give a lot of value to this Jhin and being able to consistently apply some physical damage to really everybody on the WE roster. We're about a minute away from that second dragon. Obviously, WE were able to secure themselves a Chemtech first of all. Cloud spawning on 2, which means that we should be in for some pretty decent souls.
Indeed, something that could potentially really spark these teams on to go and fight around them. With 40 seconds left until the Drake, you can see EDG beginning to set themselves up some pretty decent vision right here, really squeezing WE out of this bottom side of the map. The Monki now going to attempt to retake the jungle, but very much spotted out right now.
Completely on vision. And it's not going to go without a fight, it feels like. Monki gets stunned and into a petrifying gaze and into a ground. He is just going to fall. Bulldog picks up one, and Erha immediate flashes, gets slowed by a curtain call. And that is 2 for EDG. WE just walking in and dying.
2 for nothing right here. They're going to be able to keep the push up on the bottom side of the map. Bulldog's going to get back into the middle lane before any real push can come through from Karis as well. And that's all about the vision setup right here out of EDG. They just knew where everybody was at so much better, and Monki, I don't know.
That Q has to go backwards, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Even
Sideways
if you're getting
is just
stunned
not good.
Into the Cassiopeia, into a petrifying gate. I think credit to EDG for what was a very good chain CC, but Monki here definitely not on the correct wavelength that he needed to be. However, I say that, he's still starting up this dragon.
Yeah, just gonna bully his way back on in. This is the thing, right? As much as EDG did get here, didn't get the
Parukia
objective.
has portaled through into the face of 4 members of WE, but they don't seem to have cared about that, as now we've got support, we've got Bulldog TPing in, we've got the Pantheon Grand Star falling in, and more importantly, we've got a top laner with a great big shield who's going to come in and secure the second dragon of the game.
Exactly, whereas Cube decides, nope, this is not my fight, I'm not interested, despite having the teleport available to him, is just going to head his way through to the top lane, pick himself up as much of this top lane tower as he possibly can. Isn't going to be able to get the entirety of it, though. So we're going to have to wait a little bit longer to get that initial bit of gold, and things continue to get better right here for EDG. 2.2k gold lead is really good for them at this point in the game. Those first items we were talking about have pretty much fully come through. Yes, first items have also now been completed for WE, but those power spikes just not feeling anywhere near as much use as EDG are getting.
Gonna hop onto Erha here, who does have a route, but there's a portal waiting. Parukia lands on the Tempered Fate. Can he get the stun? I don't think he'll need it. EDG gets another one. It's a pick for EDG, continuing their snowball.
And we were talking about this as being a pretty one-sided matchup, and if you turned off nameplates, I would definitely be thinking that WE were on the blue side at the moment. Just destruction right here as Monki, little bit wrong side of the map right here. I think he's just going to get one-tapped. Bulldog walks him down, Twin Fangs gonna do the job right here, and Roodood, what are WE doing?
Well, currently, Bloxer, the short answer to that is losing, and rather spectacularly as well at that state. I don't think that the scaling for either side is particularly bad, right? If we get later, WE can use their poke. If we get later, Cassiopeia can 1v9. Yeah. So the fact that, you know, relatively speaking, we've got a massive advantage for WE, it bodes quite well for them.
It really, really does in this situation. And I mean, boy, when I was pulling together the clips for WE versus BLG, there's this one clip. Oh boy, hang on, does he die here? No, okay, he's okay. Where Monki gets himself super caught out and Alk just yells, "Monki, no!" And I've got that going on repeat in my head at the moment. Monki has made a lot of Monki no plays throughout this game so far.
Yeah, 0-4 on the Vi currently, which is definitely not the scoreline that WE would want for their jungler, their captain, their leader of the band, so to speak. And they're going to force EDG off of this Herald as it charges twice for a second time here, and might actually be WE starting this up. They did see ZDZ with quite a low HP bar. Bulldog is moving down to the bot side, and you know what? I think for EDG, they're probably quite happy to give this up. The problem more so for me is the fact that they're giving up other things as well.
Yeah,
that top turret going down, definitely not ideal.
No, as much as you have sent Bulldog down into the bottom side of the map to go and pick up that bot lane tower, first tower does go over to Cube, and now with giving this Rift Herald over, they could well crack this mid lane open at some point. Still full of plating, so not going to be that easy to be able to pick this one up, but it's just another tool in WE's back pockets to potentially fight their way back into this game, at a point at which this composition will be beginning to come online, right? 2 item spikes will be pretty strong for a lot of these members. Cube has already reached. He's getting there with the stacking as well on that Muramana.
Looks like they're trying to reach in for EDG. Instead of looking for a cease and desist, Monki pulls out the Herald. Says, look what I've got in my back pocket. That's about it. We'll see if this Herald gets much value. It looks like WE are cruising around in the bot side jungle. We don't quite land on the Vault Breaker, so there's no follow-up. Tempered Fate from Parukia is going to start something here. Flash away from Monki, and now a flash over the wall by Bulldog.
Monki, no!
It's an 0-5 Vi for WE, as there are, and actually 5 members down on the bot side for EDG.
Oh my God.
Call stops Cube.
Cube's caught 2.
We're hopped into the Herald. About's trying to get away. This is an absolute clown show by WE.
What are they doing?
Well, Erha got a charge on the mid lane turret, so he'll call worth.
Yeah, true. You managed to get away. Now, that does mean that the Rift Herald that you conceded bot lane tower for was used for very, very little, right? You get a decent chunk, I guess, maybe. It's something.
Feels bad if you're Cube, man. Like, I'm recalling in a brush, then Erha
he does
hops over the wall.
wrong here.
He hops over the wall. My Jin. Oh, nice. I'll put a Scryer's Ward down. Oh, look, a free Jace. Thank you so much. And Erha hops in the Herald and says, sorry, Cube, you're on your own, buddy.
Yeah, and right now Cube's just pushing. Recognizes that, hey, this is about to go really wrong. Starts recalling now, well before the fight gets to him. And yeah, he's still just going to get caught up into this one. And so... oh, it feels terrible. Taking stock of the way that this game has gone, as you said, right, 0-5 for Monki on this Vi. And we said that sometimes Monki can cook a little bit too hard, can get himself a little bit caught out, and this very much feeling like one of these games. However, and we must qualify this, EDG have shown us that they are very capable of losing from a winning position. They have thrown away big leads, they have thrown away small leads, they have pretty much thrown away whatever they have been able to accrue for themselves throughout the majority of this split. So as much as they are up by about 3,000 gold, I still don't fully trust what it is that EDG are showing us. If they keep playing like this though, there is a great chance of them being able to win.
Drake number 2 secured. It's a Mountain Soul. I see Cassante on EDG. My immediate thoughts are, let's not give all of the Mountain Dragons over to the Cassante, but obviously WE aren't particularly in a position to deny that. And what my favourite part about this currently, Bloxer, is that there's still a very real world that we're going to send WE to Worlds, which is very hilarious to me. We will look back at WE in playoffs and they'll probably play a little bit better than this. They'll probably give a good series up against one of our top teams. And we'll look back and say, who was the only team that gave EDG a win? Ah, yes, It was the team we're sending. One of the teams we're sending to Worlds.
Yeah. I really, really want WE to Worlds. I want to see international junglers try to deal with Monki in his playstyle. I think it will be incredibly fun to watch. And there's a good chance, right? They are very close to the top end when it comes to the championship points, as WE try to get something going over on the bottom side of the map. Now, they have a lot more power than the last time that they tried a 2v1 versus EDZ, and they should be able to pick this one up nice and easily.
We have seen this play before, but not with the return of junglers here down on the bot side. Jitja comes in with the Grand Star. For Mikhails means that the chain of corruption is barely going to land.
He lives!
And Parukia has kept this Cassante alive.
Beautiful play right there from Parukia. I mean, ZDD as well, doing everything that he could to keep himself alive. The all-out doing some crazy work. And this is a one-item Cassante as well. This is not like he has got 3 items and is an unkillable tank. Certainly feeling like it. And this is the other problem that we're seeing out of these poke viruses, right? Sorry,
you do no damage.
You do nothing. Zero. I mean, he was tickling. Every single time he was landing one of those piercing arrows, it didn't do anything.
The story started the same, it ended the same. Any of the bits in the middle, not important. Monki tried to gank ZDZ, Monki died. That was the same as it was about level 6. It's the same as it is here, sort of 10, 15 minutes later. And for EDG, to do, they walked into that bot side jungle, they set up a couple of picks, and they found said picks. But we are, congratulations to everybody, back into the game. With EDG nice and firmly ahead. I want to go back to something that you mentioned earlier on, Bloxer, just in that pause, which was that they don't really have a way of taking down ZDZ, and I'd like to hammer home this point, because this is, for the Cassante, a full AD composition that he's playing up against. If Karis is trying to kill the Cassante, Karis is doing something wrong.
Yeah, absolutely, right? You are not even slightly concerned about what it is that Karis is doing, because if he's just sat hitting you, as you're saying, right? Everything is going wrong. That means Bulldog's free hitting. That means Leave's doing his thing. In fact, I think Karis is someone we really need to highlight right here. He's on a comfort champion, as we've been talking about, and one of the only people to be able to actually get themselves kills during this game so far. He's got a lot riding on his shoulders at the moment to actually find that backline access. It's so tricky to do, though, versus a Bard providing the portals for people to reach position, but also just Bulldog chucking down that miasma, and all of a sudden, Karis not able to weave his way through the fights like he wants to.
Going to continue on my looking at Jhin builds here, just as we actually get a little showcase of what he's leveled up. Going to have to hold that. There was about that PowerPoint for WE does just get picked. A flash from Erha as well. Yeah, the LPL are on my side here. This is Serpents into Hubris with the components of a Cyclo Sword coming through on 3 for Leave. Up against, again, very minimal armor. I'm not against this in any way, sorry.
No, I think this is going to put him in a really good spot right now. And as we said, right, the Jhin usually a little bit more of a, finishing touch piece, a utility piece over the top of a ton of damage from the rest of the map. Well, you're already actually getting a ton of damage from the rest of the map, but this is the way you're going to be able to pump that extra little bit in and make sure that you're in a really good spot to be able to help your team out, as the follow-up from EDG onto that initial bit of burst for about it's too much for him. There's no way for him to be able to survive that. And if you can't survive that, I don't know how he's going to be able to be useful during these team fights.
Bastion Breaker Jhin for Leave. Sorry, that's the last thing I'll say about it, and we'll carry on.
Yeah.
Drake in 40 seconds here. This would be soul point for EDG if they are successful in picking it up. Looking around once again, we've got 30-40 seconds on the clock. Parukia goes in, lays down some vision. He's got JJ to support. It doesn't really feel like WE have got the damage, the items, the wherewithal in any sense to look for a contest, but feels like look they might.
Indeed they will, and why not, right? JJ even going to be able to steal away that blue buff too, and Monki's caught again!
Yeah, gets caught by a deadly flourish, doesn't quite get caught there by the tempered fate. That's Erha's duty, as that Karma is absolutely dead. Monki now trying to find some form of an escape via the board, not able to do so. This is EDG just snowballing.
And they can just keep going, right? There's 23 minutes of the game. Baron is up and available, and they've got their sights on that instead of the Dragon. Why not? You've got yourself a decently fast enough take onto the objective here, especially with the Cassiopeia to help out. Now, you do still have a couple of carries available from WE, so if they want to try make something happen, they can. And with the teleport in from Cube, they're at least going to try.
Little bits of poke from About and Cube, but high HP on that Cassio can tank the majority of it. Flash over! Double petrifying gaze! Good night, WE!
And that's just going to do it right here. Karis at least just going to be able to get himself back away with the ulti. But that is a slim reward for what is a devastating team fight right here. EDG up 9,000 gold with the Baron on them. They can just push through and try to end the game now.
Bulldog with a really, really solid performance so far on this Cassio, maybe apexed by that single engage, the Flash Petrify engage to catch 2 out.
And this is just really well played. You can see from Bulldog, right? Flash, Petrifying Gaze, lands onto both of them. He only really needed to get one of them to make that play work. The damage would have come through regardless, but the fact that you get Cube stunned up there means he has no hope for him doing anything. And yeah, Karis lives, but with the Baron empowered minions now, you can see the setup going through, looking to push through the mid lane and the bottom lane. JJ also going to be grabbing himself the third Drake of the game. Mountain Soul potentially for them, but we may not even get that far into the future, right? The game could well end at the next fight. WE just desperately trying to clear minion waves, and although they've got some decent poke, the actual minion wave clearing potential of this comp, not that great.
No, when it comes to clearing away Baron minions, you typically actually prefer more consistent DPS.
Yeah.
Monki, I've definitely seen this one before.
Several times, in fact,
get rid of the little overlay at the bottom, we'll be able to tell you exactly how many times we've seen it. As that is a...
8th
death
8th
for the Vi.
Ow.
With only one positive contribution to this game, EDG are just steamrolling WE. About in the base gets taken down. A Hail Mary for Bulldog is going to yield them some snake-flavoured fruit. As Cube is also able to get out to safety.
Yeah, but look at the mid lane.
Yeah, I'm looking at that on the minimap.
It's a Bulldog for the base trade coming through right here, which... not necessarily going to be the most worthwhile. EDG, they're not going to overpush, and this is good to see, right? In that matchup that they had versus AL, where they took them to the brink in game number 3. They overpush, they smell blood in the water, they get killed in the base, and they end up losing that game. So good to see a little bit more restraint coming through from EDG.
Now it's about how easily can they close out this game. Typically from here, you want to move into the side lanes, let the minions in the mid lane do their work, and then coast to a victory. However, I think that given the 10k gold lead EDG have, there's a very real possibility that they go to a lane, they find somebody, they put all 5 people there, and they just fight.
Yeah, you very much can do at this point, right? 10,000 gold up, you are just so much stronger than your opponents. Collector coming through now as well for Leave. He is looking to just one tap through people at this point, and it has absolutely been working. There's also a GA at this point on JJ, so you can't even just blow up one of the people jumping you with the most aggression. I don't know who you can potentially really kill. Bulldog on a side lane again? Maybe, but I don't know how much that is really going to bring, as the top lane at tier 2 tower falls as well, and now the top lane inhibitor is going to be the next big focus.
Just to put this into context, EDG in split number 3 obviously haven't won any series, but they are 2-22 currently in their win-loss ratio. This would be only their 3rd game win in the entire split. About gets flashed on, About gets popped. Erha takes 2 Twin Fangs, loses half his HP. And even without the Baron here, Bloxer, it is EDG just looking to storm through the WE base. Karis into the backline, gets hit with the Zhonyas and can't take down Bulldog. Misses out on the Shuriken flip, that's badly timed. As Erha flashes in to catch one of the stray bullets, manages to get his top laner out to safety, only for Karis to fall as well. EDG cleanly, concisely, and without all that many problems, to be completely honest with you, take game number 1 versus Team WE.
Now that is, I think, not what anyone was expecting coming on into this matchup here today. We're expecting a pretty clean 2-0 for WE, but you said it. You've said it a couple times, right? The funniest outcome was always that WE lost to EDG, and it's entirely possible right here. EDG, what utter domination here in game number 1.
Really across the board as well. You know, ZDZ in the top lane, outplaying Monki in that early gank. A good solid 2 versus 2 kills down in the bot lane by EDG, right? Yes, About, in fairness, kind of got owned. TP'd back in, had to make those plays happen for himself, but on the TP, actually then found a double kill, and nowhere really ever looked like it was doing all that well. The Cassiopeia in the mid lane was, you know, a constant threat versus Karis, who never really got to show why people take the Akali into it.
No, I mean, in this situation, right, as Karis gets 1 kill, that was nice, right? And then just kind of didn't do anything with it. I don't know how much we can fully point towards the composition out of WE as the problem. I didn't love the comp, right? I think they would have been better served by just leaning in to what they had between the Vi and the Akali, full all-in aggression, diving into the backline, rather than this sort of straddling the difference, because they just didn't actually have enough damage to be able to deal with anyone. The main problem was that ZDZ, they try gank him twice, they die to him both times, and then that was their plays. That was the proactivity that WE had tried. Ooh,
and a nice gold graph here for EDG. Steady climb throughout the game. JJ with the most damage in the entire game. That's what you want to see from your Pantheon in the jungle. He felt like he was everywhere, and damage numbers don't lie. He was doing more than everybody else on his team, to the enemy champions as well.
Just ridiculous right here. Just absolutely ridiculous. And nobody even had a particularly high kill participation rate out of EDG. They were getting kills as individual pairings, wherever they really needed to pick them up off of the map. It wasn't just these big team fights in which things were going well. Whereas out of WE, I mean, I don't know another word for it, really. It was a bit of a pathetic performance from them. Nobody showed up. Everybody had things go wrong. And boy, I can't even imagine the talking to they're about to get from their coach in the background between these games.
Yeah, hopefully it's one that gives them a little bit of inspiration slash maybe a little bit of shame based on how the game was performed. But
what is Monki doing? What are you doing?
Another no Monki moment.
Yeah, many no Monki moments right here, and I think the big problem here, as much as, you know, everything went wrong for them, this is WE multiple times not recognizing the moments in which their composition was strong enough to fight. Going top lane, trying to get a kill into the top side when ZDZ was way stronger than they were, no ulti onto Monki, dying. Not good. Trying to play around this bottom side, trying to go for these drakes a couple times when they hadn't done any of the prior work. There was no vision set up, they didn't have any of the lanes pushed in that they needed to, so they were getting out-rotated. EDG were doing a very good job of making the most of these mistakes, but make no mistake about it, WE were messing things up to start off.
So how even does ZDZ live here?
Cassante
Perfect timed Mikhails, constant Omnivamp, Cassante nonsense. Yeah, that felt like the middle of the end, I'll be honest. It had already begun long before this, if we're being completely frank.
Yeah,
Erha as well.
Every single one of these. Monki gets caught out, starts the fight. Monki gets caught out, starts the fight.
Yeah, you know what? Tries to turn it back around. Credit to him, but that's one thing I feel like on Monki you can never really count out, is that as Team WE, they are going to go forward. They will not play a scale in composition to scale. If they feel like they can take a fight, Monki's probably going to take that fight.
Yeah, absolutely. And in this game, taking fights all the way to their grave, and now find themselves down 0-1 to EDG, who do we think is player of the game in this one? Because
it's JJ. It's
I mean,
absolutely
it has
JJ.
to be JJ, I guess, but I don't even know that JJ was that supremely impressive in this game. I like the proactivity. He was doing things good on the Pantheon, right, making things happen, but he didn't have to do too much in this game. He was never really pushed in this one.
No, he wasn't. You're quite right. But I do think that with the presence that he still had, despite the fact that, you know, Monki was doing whatever Monki ended up doing, it was JJ that was there to punish. I think there's a case to be made for Parukia on the Bard, in fairness, because I think that the Bard was also starting a lot of those fights, finding a lot of those picks. That as a two-man band was very impressive. But yeah, we so rarely see these support MVPs, and JJ here came into EDG as that, you know, I'm here to help out the squad. He's got 3 MVP counts. That's the 3rd win for EDG, so you can run the numbers there to see the percentages that he's secured.
Yep.
907 on the Pantheon as well. You can't really complain.
No, absolutely not. Not mad about that one. Very well deserved in that situation. Good team win out of EDG and really driven through the jungle. As you said, they bring him in to try to right the ship, and although it hadn't immediately made this big impact, things are most definitely better than they were before. And now, maybe you're on the up. Maybe that first series win is on the cards right here. It could happen. It doesn't really change anything, right? EDG find themselves at 0-11 at the moment. If they're 1-11, they still are a couple series away from Thunder Talk, but there's a chance, right? There is a chance that they could be able to get themselves up off of that bottom floor, and that is important. As much as we're talking about, you know, they're already playing in the play-ins, it matters who you play in the play-ins. NIP, IG, very different looking teams at the moment, still both looking like they're going to be tough opponents, though.
They are, and that's important, right? I think NIP definitely a very scary team. We'll see a little bit more of them, I believe, on Sunday this week to round out their Nirvana split in a really big series up against IG. For EDG, though, an excellent start here to this series. They've got just one more game left to win, and we'll be back on the other side of this break, Bloxer, to see if they can do it. So folks at home, don't go anywhere.